It happened 3 days before the certificate existed. Ghana's Bank of Ghana announced its National Silver Reserve pilot on March 28, 2026, and in the same press release, cited pending LBMA certification of 99.99% purity standards as the explicit condition enabling the move. Not if, not when, pending. That word isn't bureaucratic filler. It's the smoking gun. Because until April 1, 2026, until that exact date, silver had no globally recognized, legally binding purity standard for central bank reserves. None. Gold has had LBMA good delivery since 1919, 107 years of unbroken institutional legitimacy. Silver? Zero. LBMA good delivery isn't a label. It's the only globally accepted passport for metals on central bank balance sheets. Without it, you can't report it to the IMF. You can't settle it interbank. You can't pledge it as collateral in G20 markets. So when Ghana announced a national reserve pilot, not a study, not a task force, but an active deployment citing a standard that wouldn't exist for 72 hours. That wasn't speculation. That was coordination. Think about what that requires. A sovereign central bank, a global standards body, and the IMF's COFER framework all aligned in advance, down to the decimal point. 99.99%. Why would Ghana stake its monetary credibility on a standard still in draft form unless the draft was already functionally final? Because it was. This wasn't market demand pulling policy. This was policy pulling the market from the top down, in real time. And here's what makes it irreversible. Fred's newly launched Silver Holdings by Official Sector series, the first ever official U.S. government dataset tracking sovereign silver, shows exactly $0 as of Q1 2026. Zero. Not low, not hidden. Zero. Because until April 1, there was no legal mechanism to hold it, let alone report it. The standard didn't activate demand. It activated accounting. That pending wasn't hope. It was the sound of the lock turning. Because LBMA doesn't recommend standards. It enforces them on central banks, on vaults, on settlement systems. And the key to that lock? COFER. The IMF's COFER database, the single, definitive ledger of what every central bank in the world officially holds, doesn't accept suggestions. It accepts specifications. And until April 1, 2026, silver didn't meet one. COFER Annex 3, Section 4.2 is explicit. Monetary metals must meet LBMA good delivery specifications to qualify for reporting as official reserves. Not should, not ideally, must. That sentence isn't policy guidance. It's accounting law. Without LBMA good delivery status, silver couldn't appear on a central bank's balance sheet as a reserve asset, full stop. No transparency, no legitimacy, no interbank settlement. Try to pledge it as collateral in London or Singapore. Rejected. Try to report it to the IMF? Flagged. Try to swap it for dollars in a liquidity crisis? Not recognized. That's why Ghana's March 28 announcement wasn't bold. It was compliant. She didn't gamble on a future standard. She aligned with a rulebook already written and already binding. Let that sink in. LBMA good delivery isn't about purity alone. It's about provenance, auditability, and interoperability. Every bar must be cast in an LBMA accredited refinery. Every vault must pass annual LBMA physical audits. Every assay must come from an LBMA recognized lab. It's the financial equivalent of ISO 20022 for payments, not flashy, but absolutely required for participation. And on April 1, silver passed. Not as a commodity, not as jewelry, but as monetary metal with the exact same legal standing as gold. For the first time since COFER launched in 1995, silver appears on the approved list. 190 central banks. One rulebook. One date. That's why Fred's Silver Holdings by Official Sector series shows $0 as of Q1 2026. Zero wasn't absence. It was enforcement. The gate wasn't closed because no one wanted silver. It was closed because the system would not process it. Now it will. And the moment it does, the moment that first COFER submission includes silver under reserve assets, every other central bank sees the precedent. Not as theory, as precedent. The standard didn't change silver. It changed what central banks are allowed to do with it. It didn't stop in Accra. Within 72 hours of LBMA's April 1 certification, 3 more sovereigns moved not with press conferences, but with operational precision. Abuja acted on March 30. Nigeria's central bank issued a formal statement. In line with updated global reserve standards, the CBN has initiated technical review of silver valuation methodology. Notice the phrase, updated global reserve standards. Not potential, not future, not if. Updated, as in, already changed, already binding, already in effect. Then came Hanoi. On April 2, 2 days after certification, Vietnam's State Bank released an internal memo titled, Preparation of Silver Reserve Valuation Framework. And its trigger? Explicitly cited. LBMA's April 1 certification. No ambiguity, no hedging, just a framework already in preparation for valuing silver as reserves. But here's what breaks the timeline. Nur Sultan moved first. Kazakhstan expanded its national vault capacity by 42% on March 27. 1 day before Ghana's March 28 announcement. 3 days before LBMA's April 1 certification. Their public explanation? Strategic reserve. Diversification. That's central bank code for, we're preparing for something new and we're not waiting for permission. Think about that. Ghana announced a pilot pending the standard. Nigeria reviewed valuation aligned with the standard. Vietnam built a framework triggered by the standard. And Kazakhstan? It preempted the entire rollout upgrading infrastructure before the rule existed. What does it mean when 3 central banks on 3 continents move within 72 hours, not on price, but on paperwork? It means this isn't speculation. It's execution. Fred's Silver Holdings by Official Sector series shows $0 as of Q1 2026. 0. Not hidden, not misreported. 0. That $0 wasn't absence. It was the starting line drawn in regulatory ink. And now, the first sprinter has crossed it. Then the second, then the third, and the fourth. The quietest one was already at the finish line before the gun fired. The standard didn't go live on April 1. It went live on March 27. And the world just didn't know it yet. 1%. That's all it takes to break the global silver supply chain before the first bar is even booked. 37 emerging market central banks hold roughly $1.20 trillion in official reserves. 1% of that is $12 billion. Now compare that to reality. In 2025, the entire world mined $3.70 billion worth of silver. Not traded, not recycled, mined. That's a 3.2x gap. $12 billion in sovereign demand versus $3.70 billion in annual physical supply. Let that sink in. This isn't a price problem. It's a physics problem. You cannot mint silver faster than geology allows. You cannot refine it faster than assay labs can verify 99.99%. You cannot ship certified good delivery bars 1,000-ounce bars, stamped, assayed, audited faster than vaults can release them. So what happens when the first central bank submits its COFER filing and includes silver under reserve assets? It triggers a cascade, not of orders but of allocations. Because vaults don't wait for price signals. They allocate based on availability. And right now, availability is 0. Fred's Silver Holdings by Official Sector shows $0 as of Q1 2026. That $0 wasn't empty. It was loaded. It was the last moment before the dam broke. So imagine this. Nigeria's central bank places its first $500 million order not for speculation, but for balance sheet compliance. London vaults check inventory. They have $120 million in LBMA certified 99.99% bars. They allocate it instantly. Then they close the door. No press release, no announcement, just silence and a vault capacity exhausted notice routed internally to the LBMA. That's not theory. That's how the system already works for gold. But gold has 200,000 tons in vaults. Silver? Less than 3,000 tons globally held in LBMA accredited vaults. Less than 100 million ounces. Meanwhile, $12 billion at $32 per ounce equals 370 million ounces. 3.5 times more than exists in certified vaults. This isn't volatility. This is infrastructure failure. Settlement rails jam. Allocation queues form. Delivery delays stretch from days to weeks. And price? Price becomes irrelevant because you can't bid for metal that doesn't exist in the system. That's why the first move won't be a headline. It'll be a quiet, urgent email between vault managers and central bank treasury desks. We have no further 99.99% bars available for allocation until Q3. That's the breaking point, not $60, not $100, but 0 bars. The standard didn't unlock demand. It unlocked scarcity, immediate, physical, unignorable. And the moment that first $12 billion order hits the rails, the market stops pricing silver. It starts rationing it. What 1% allocation breaks isn't the chart. It's the chain.